morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am fantastic.
I'm glad.
I am sitting outside.
Oh, nice.
I know, trying. The temperature is perfect. Thank you for doing this first.
No problem. And sitting outside in a perfect environment is very much in line with what we're going to talk about.
No care.
So, good job.
So I don't know if Marina shared with you, she's her mother is very ill.
Oh,
So
no.
she is probably not going to be on. So she forwarded to me a bunch of things. And so I'm glad you're on early so we could figure out exactly what you need me to do.
Yes. Okay. Because she and I went over that. Well, I hopped in because I know she told me to log in early and I couldn't remember. She said 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I was like,
that's fine.
On there. And I'll play around with things on my desk until I hid the cats in the guest room so that they won't show up because they do.
Okay.
All right, so you have a set of slides called Relax Tips?
Yes.
You have that? Okay.
I do. I'm just going to share it on my, what do I try to say? Save it on my desktop so there's no issue.
It'll be easier, yeah.
So let me just do that now.
Okay.
We have about 33 people registered right now. Okay. And that was before this morning when I sent out another blast and got some like, oh my God, I needed this. So I'm excited to do that. Now she attempted to share a brief bio of yours with me, but it did not, for whatever reason, I can't open it.
Okay, so you need something to introduce me, huh?
Yes.
All right, let's see if I can find what I sent her.
Okay. So let me see. I just saved the relax.
A challenge, but
that's okay. All right.
So hold on. I don't know if where I would have put that.
It just says it can't open the Adobe, which I don't know.
No, I know. I don't know what I did. I'm trying to figure out what I gave her because I'm not on.
I can't help you with that.
I know. What I can give you is my bio sketch.
Nope, you can't. No.
Oh, dear. What did I send her? My bio sketch? That's not it. I'm not on the desktop where everything
sent it.
Yeah.
Let me triple check what it was called. So it says.
Oh, let me go to my sent mail. Okay, there. Yeah. That's a good idea.
It says very brief bio. Do you want more info?
Yeah, I think I basically said very little to nothing. What would you like?
So I mean, all I have is Vicki Tepper is a professor of pediatrics and like basic, which I thought was like suboptimal.
All right, hold on. Suboptimal. We should not have that as it is. I'm appreciating that you let me use the funny picture of me instead of.
I love that. Well, I
was like, that is self-care for me.
Exactly. It speaks to self-care. Like we can't
be right because that's silly. I don't know where. I gave her a very short one. Hold on. Well, let's go through the relax pics first. So and then I'm going to go digging around to try to find whatever I sent her.
Okay.
Well, I know what I sent her. I sent her something that's barely anything, but
now I'm going to share your presentation. Is that right?
No, I'm going to do that. You're going to just share the
relax pic slides.
Yeah, because
she said you wanted to spend about 40 seconds to a minute on each pic.
Correct. Let me explain what I want to do there.
Okay.
But first, I'm trying to find something about me that would help you. Like you want to say like where I got my degree and all that kind of business?
I'm happy to say that. I'm happy to say whatever you want.
Okay, well, I can't find what I sent her. What I sent her is one sentence. What I can't find is my other bio because I'm not on the right desktop. So let me I'll come back to that. When I'm going to do the relax pics after I finish the lecture, I'm going to say, now we're going to do some practicing of how to do self-care. And I'm going to do a breathing exercise first. You don't need the pictures. Then I'm going to do a guided imagery. And during that, to slowly change the pictures while I'm doing that.
Okay.
So people have something to look at if they don't feel good about closing their eyes. So that's the whole
So you just want me to literally time, like count to 30 seconds and then.
Or a minute, whatever you feel the flow. You know, you don't have to get through all of them. They're just pretty pictures.
Okay.
So you can do it at whatever rate you would like.
So once you finish presenting,
Yes.
then I can go. Once you finish presenting, do you want me to load the guided imagery at that time?
Well, yeah, I'm first going to do the guided image. I'm going to do a breathing exercise. So
Okay.
well, hold on a second. So let's come here.
What do you want on the screen while you do the breathing exercise?
Just the first page of that. You don't have to change it, but just the opening picture is fine.
Okay.
And then when I start the guided imagery, then you can move to the other one. But
okay,
hold on and let me see if I can get myself to. Why can't I get on? There we go.
I mean, what it says, what she has, the one line.
Yeah, it's just that
she's a pediatric psychologist and professor of pediatrics at University of Maryland School of Medicine. She completed her PhD at Vanderbilt, and she's division head of the Division of Community Pediatrics and Adolescent Medicine.
That's fine. Do you really need, that's suboptimal?
Nope. I mean,
okay, so let's go with that. I mean, I don't, it's fine.
Okay, all right. She, for self-care, she likes to do what?
Oh, I like, you could actually say, if you wanted to, that the picture on the thing is me engaging in self-care. I like to watch baseball. I like to go to Orioles games. So, which I enjoy doing because you can yell in a socially acceptable place. I like baseball too, but that is, but here, so there we go.
That's hilarious.
Okay, so there's my slides. They're all ready to go. So just so you know, so the, wait, no, can I share my screen? We didn't practice that.
All right, go ahead and share.
There we
go. There
go.
are people in the waiting room already. Okay.
Okay, beautiful. So.
But I'm going to share first because I have a
right. So I'm just going to do from the beginning. So there, it's working fine. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Awesome.
So I will stop sharing.
It should be fun. Let me close my background stuff. Let me close my renovation project.
Oh yeah. Oh, I should probably also fade out my background here. I'm never good at. Virtual background. We'll go with blur. There we go.
Okay. Toolkit series open. We have people in the waiting room already.
Oh, good for them. They're early. Well, it's only 3 minutes, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
And people kind of trickle in.
Okay.
33 registered. Who knows how many we'll get?
Okay, and here when this is my script for the guided image. So.
Okay. I mean, we have the attendance for this has been. Usually we have around 15 to 20. We've had as many as 75. I mean, we've had people from everywhere across Maryland. So
that's nice.
Multiple counties. We've had people internationally tune in. We have program tune in.
Well, I saw at the one that either Matt or Jasmine did, I noticed Ralph Persueno had dialed in, and we know Ralph from when he was with Baltimore City. So I don't know if he's joining today, but he was. You remember him?
So he is now our project officer.
Oh, well, I know him.
Right.
There we go. I wanted to.
He's our project officer since what's her name? Sharon.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. I mean, it's like light and day.
Yeah, well, he had Lynn Ferrara's job, or maybe he had Sunny's job, like one of their jobs for Baltimore City for Part A. Okay,
interesting.
Yep.
Okay. What I'll do is it's 11:58. Yeah, I'll start to let people in.
Okay.
I'd like to actually shut off I hate we hate having the waiting room. So I'm going to admit them and then shut off the waiting room.
Then they can just all come in whenever they want.
Yeah. All right.
So you can engage in your self-care, although I'll have to do the guided image. You're going to have to be concentrating. You can't really.
I know.
I don't want you to drift off into one of those pictures. I'm like, hey.
All right. Admitting now.
Okay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Really excited to have you join us. We're going to let people come in slowly and get started in about a couple minutes. All right. Hope you're ready to engage in some self-care.
It feels like romper room. I want to like say hello to people when I see their names pop up like, hello.
You're allowed.
Hi, Jean. Hi, Joan. Hi, Robin.
Hi there.
Hey, everybody. Do me a big favor so we don't start all you saying hi to each other. We could mute ourselves so we could get started. Really excited about this one. Vicki, a little bit of background while people come in. This is actually one of the first toolkit series we did was as a managing burnout. Now back in 2020, thinking the pandemic would be over by now, but here we are, and thought it'd be a perfect time to do another one. So really glad that you're doing this because we're still here. All right, we'll give people about 1 or 2 minutes and then get going. Welcome everybody.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Fantastic.
Great. Hi, Vicki. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Just saying we're giving people about another minute or two because we want to make sure we get through all of this and then we'll go ahead and get started. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Alrighty. So Vicki, once I do the introductory slides, I'll turn it over to you and then we'll do our little dance.
Okay.
All right. All right. Literally 1 more minute. Well, I'll start to introduce. How about that? So welcome everybody to our virtual toolkit series. This is, wow, we're way into our 2nd year of this. It's the Wiki Partnership for Excellence in HIV Care across Central Maryland. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Allison Agu, and I'm a professor of pediatric and adolescent and adult infectious diseases at Johns Hopkins. I run our pediatric adolescent HIV/AIDS program on our young adult ACE clinic. In this role, I'm the Wiki Partnership Program Director. The vision of Wiki, which Wiki stands for Women, Infant, Children, and Youth, is to really achieve a more coordinated response to HIV care by establishing mutually beneficial relationships that increase the quality of care that we provide as a community. So the idea here is to build upon the structures that we have, not to reinvent the wheel, but to create a dedicated network of providers who care for the Wiki population to coordinate across multidisciplinary systems of care. Basically, the goal of this series is to engage and amplify. And I always say this, the idea is that you see something, you say something, and you share something, and we can all learn and build each other. Today, it's managing burnout. Some of you were with us for caring for immigrants and populations living with HIV, and you can see the diversity of topics that we have. Next, I'll introduce Vicki Tepper next, but next month, we'll have is Breast Best for All, where we'll talk about breastfeeding when positive, myself and others. But with no further ado, today I'd love to introduce Vicki Tepper. Vicki Tepper is a professor of pediatrics and the Division of Community Pediatrics and Adolescent Medicine at the University of Maryland. She's a pediatric psychologist, and she completed her PhD at Vanderbilt University. And as I said, heads the Division of Community Peds and Adolescent Medicine. Vicki has been a long-standing colleague in the Part D Wiki Partnership and just with caring for youth and children living with HIV in Baltimore. Today, she's going to talk to us about managing burnout for individuals caring for patients living with HIV, the idea of self-care. And to give you some background, in this picture, Vicki's actually engaging in self-care at an Orioles game. She goes there because she likes baseball, but because she can yell and scream and emotes, which helps her in self-care. No further ado, Vicki, take it away.
All right. So let's see if I can now successfully share my screen, and I can. Oops, hold on. There we go. Can you see that? And can you hear me? All righty. Well, thank you all for being here today and for taking some time out of your incredibly busy schedules to talk about managing burnout. Today, we're focusing on folks who take care of patients who live with HIV, but really managing burnout and self-care is really something we should all be paying attention to. So feel free to share this with folks that are not doing that work, but because we really all need to do that. I have no financial disclosures. And by the end of this presentation, I'm hoping that you all will be able to define stress, understand some of the consequences of stress, develop a few tools for coping with stress and avoiding burnout, and create some self-care strategies. And if you stay on till the end, we're actually going to do some self-care, and I'm going to train you on 2 separate ways that you can do this for yourselves and for your friends and family. So incentive for staying for the whole presentation. So stress. So people talk about stress all the time. I don't know that a day goes by that you don't probably say at least once, I'm so stressed out. This is so stressful. And so it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And today, when I'm thinking about stress, I think of it really as a complex, a very dynamic process. And it's really an interaction between either yourself and internal events or yourself and external events. And sometimes internal and external events at the same time. And when we feel stress, it triggers sort of a physiological response that is described as the flight or fight response. And hormones are immediately released when your body perceives stress. And that again could be stress that is emotional stress, cognitive stress, or physical stress. And our bodies are sort of primed to stay in that alert state with that expression of these hormones so that you're able to do something, either flight or fight. But if we think about it and stress continues, this can result in exhaustion because your body is just continually staying at that hyper level. And it can become debilitating because we have no outlet for that stress, which becomes chronic. But again, all stress is not bad. Sometimes low levels of stress might not even be noticeable. You may have heard of the inverted U function of stress, which basically tells us that moderate levels of stress can be positive and challenge us to act in creative and resourceful ways. So on this curve, if you see there at the top, that sort of high performance comes at sort of medium levels of stress. But as we move through, heightened levels of stress can really be harmful. They can cause us to develop health problems, moodiness, anxiety, depression, problems in our relationships. But for those of us in the world in which we live, staying at a certain level of stress keeps us alert to what's happening around us. So stress is not always bad. But we're going to talk about today the bad kind of stress. And there's more than one kind. So there's the short-term kind of stress, which happens to me often. You lose your keys, you're walking out the door, you don't know where they are. That's a little bit stressful. You get upset and then, oh, there they are. And off you go and the stress relaxes. You might have a disagreement with a friend or a spouse, a partner, but then you resolve it. That's a short-term kind of stress. But then there are these long-term chronic stresses that really, really can cause all kinds of difficulties for us in our physical as well as our emotional health. Job instability is one, relationship discord. But for what we're looking at today, we're going to talk about the complex demands at work when sometimes we have constrained resources, we might have limited staff. I think you can all fill in the blanks at the different things about your current work environment that are causing you to have stress. And when you have long-term chronic stress, there's really no chance to recover. And that's what we need to think about when we're going to talk later about self-care, is the way to sort of reroute ourselves so that we don't experience chronic stress with no opportunity for recovery. And it can affect us, as I've mentioned, physically, mentally, and or emotionally. And when you're having a lot of stress, sometimes it exacerbates a little stress. And I'm sure everyone can remember a time, maybe in the last 24 hours, you're feeling overwhelmed and then somebody does something which under normal circumstances wouldn't really bother you. But because you're already operating at a higher level of stress, that little thing can really set things off. So all of a sudden you're in a meeting and someone becomes really upset and you're thinking, what's going on there? And it really might be this cumulative stress. And it's sort of like people say the last straw. And what happens with long-term stress? Well, for our bodies, you can experience the stress itself, or some of us develop unhealthy habits in response to stress, like smoking, drug use, alcohol abuse, overeating, not eating enough, exercising too much, not exercising at all. So sometimes we try to come up with a solution to the problem, and that solution becomes a problem too. Chronic stress, we know, can contribute to cardiovascular disease, muscle pain, stomach and intestinal problems like ulcers, reproductive health problems, and immune dysfunction. And the mental and emotional stress that we feel can lead to depression or a concept that's called learned helplessness. And I want to talk a little bit more about what that means. And learned helplessness is sort of what the words say. It's sometimes that when we're in a situation where there's a stressor that we feel we cannot control, at some point we sort of feel like if we can't control it, we're just going to become helpless and not try to do anything about it. And it becomes the way we see the problems. And I want you to all think of your own example, but in the workplace, if there's never enough of a certain resource that you need and you've asked for help with that and no one's responded, and you've asked again and no one's responded, at some point you might just give up and feel like this is how it is. No one cares about it. I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with that. And that is what we're describing when we're thinking about learned helplessness. And that really has a direct relationship to burnout, because when we experience burnout in our workplace, in our experiences, what we're experiencing really is this cumulative stress and an inability to deal with it. And for those of us who provide care for people living with chronic health problems, and in our case today, we're talking about working with folks living with HIV, sometimes one of the stressors we experience is becoming the surrogate family for our patients. For many of the patients that we take care of in our programs, they don't have anyone else they talk to but us about living with HIV. So we become that other part of their family, and the stress related or the burden of that over time with multiple patients becomes a real challenge, because now we have to balance our boundaries. We are caring people, we are carers by definition, we're in healthcare, but we can't take on all of those roles, but oftentimes we do. And then we get frustrated when things don't go well. We can feel helplessness and hopelessness. Also, stress can be caused by observing suffering in people. At any point in the past 2 years, all of us have had the opportunity to see more suffering than we probably could have imagined. And for those of us, and I didn't mention this in my bio, but I've been working with people living with HIV. It'll be 32 years on July 1st. And so over those many years, and especially for those of us, and I know some of you on the call who were working in this field back in the day before the medications were available and people could live well with HIV, we observed different kinds of suffering. Now the kind of suffering we're seeing in the community is widespread because of COVID, because of employment. There are so many ways in which, and our patients are experiencing those things too. So it compounds the kinds of stress of providing care for us, especially when we have limited resources. And by limited resources, it's not just the financial or the tangible, but it's the emotional resources to be able to try to address some of these challenges that the patients, our families that we take care of are experiencing. And over the past 2 years, we've lost people. We've lost people to COVID. People have also had other tragedies that have occurred. There's been a higher rate of suicide. So there's bereavement. So if you take all of this together with this amount of stress that we're all experiencing in our work life, and let's set aside what's going on in our home lives, burnout is a really high risk, especially if you think about the last couple of years when things have been even more stressful and difficult. And when I came to look for a list of the signs and symptoms of burnout, I started getting nervous, because when you read the list, you could kind of see yourself in all of these things at any given time. You know, we've been fatigued and low energy. There's been depression, trouble concentrating, feeling nervous, at times feeling poor motivation, losing pleasure in the things at work that we used to find enjoyable or the things in our personal lives, feeling anxious, having more time to make mistakes because you're overwhelmed and tired, loss of being objective, feeling isolated. And certainly during the pandemic, isolation has been a huge part of our lives at different points during the lockdown, and even now when we might not be able to spend time with all of the people in our lives we'd like to because of higher risk for some of those people and the consequences of COVID. We become maybe more emotionally reactive, relationship issues, insomnia or disturbed sleep. I don't know how many of you were reading this in the beginning, but there were actually pandemic dreams and all of that was happening for folks. So these are all the signs and symptoms of burnout, but they're also the signs and symptoms of just living. So what we need to do is pay attention to when those things are becoming problems, when they're getting in the way. There are days when we're all tired. There are days when you feel nervous, but when is that getting in the way of you feeling effective in your work life, in your professional life, or in your home life? And that's when we want to pay attention. So I'm going to pivot a little now. Given that context, I want us to think for a moment about why are we better at taking care of ourselves, to take care of others rather than taking care of ourselves. And I think that probably, not being able to see everyone on this call, but knowing some of you, I know that we are really much better at doing this for other people than we are for ourselves. And I think we need to optimize our ability to take care of other people by learning to take care of ourselves. So we're going to talk a little bit about what is self-care. And self-care is really taking an active and proactive role in your health and your wellness. And it becomes a framework for managing stress, life's challenges, dealing with burnout, and compassion fatigue, because it does become exhausting to be a carer all the time. And this is a way of sort of giving yourself some care at the same time. It's also an empowerment process that will create a balance between your personal life, your work life, your social life. And so you really want to take hold of that. And when I'm going to talk to you about self-care, it's anything you do deliberately in order to take care of your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health and well-being. So it's all of that counts as self-care. And guess what? Self-care is an ethical imperative. If any of you are members of any of these associations, you will know that in your ethical code, there's a specific comment in the social work, psychology, counseling, physicians, nurses, there's an ethical responsibility to be aware and maintain your health, your physical health and your mental health. So psychologists are interested in looking at the possible effect of their mental health and their physical health on their ability to help those with whom they work. Social workers are advised to monitor their performance and warned against practicing while impaired and recommend seeking adjustments in workload or taking steps that are necessary to protect your clients, but also yourself. The Counseling Association says we should always engage in self-care activities to maintain and promote our own emotional health, physical well-being, spiritual. Physicians have a responsibility to maintain their health and wellness, to treat themselves or evaluate themselves for acute or chronic diseases, including mental health and occupational stress. And nurses must adopt a self-care as a duty to their self, in addition to their duty to provide and care for patients. I'm just curious if anyone wants to comment. Were they aware that they had an ethical imperative to take care of themselves? You can unmute if you'd like to say something right now, because I didn't know this either. And when I started researching about self-care, I found that we actually are bound to do this. So Allison is shaking her head. I can't see anybody else.
No, didn't realize that.
It is actually our responsibility. So if you get into a problem when we get to the parts about programmatic self-care, you could say it is an ethical imperative and you must do this. So it's good. So we're going to talk about self-care. Why is it important? Well, I've already mentioned it reduces burnout. It will actually increase your ability to be compassionate and empathic. It will increase your job satisfaction. It helps you reconnect with why you choose to do this work. This is hard work we choose, but sometimes it's hard to remember why we wanted to do that when we're feeling so overwhelmed. And obviously it will improve our physical and mental health. But there's also benefits to where we practice, to our clinics, to our health centers. There's benefit because there'll be less staff turnover. And for those of you who might be trying to hire people right now, it is very difficult. So we want to keep our staff and keep them happy and well. So practice benefits for incorporating self-care is less staff turnover. Patients are more satisfied when their providers seem happier. When the provider, think of yourself, if your provider came in the room and looked exhausted, it would be kind of hard to really engage with them in a conversation about what you needed. There's research that shows that there are fewer medical errors, and I would say all of our work besides physicians, fewer errors happen when you're taking better care of yourself, and our work environment improves. So there are really, really strong benefits, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us when we engage in self-care. So we need to think about strategies. So here's some questions to ask yourself. How many hours do you work? When was the last time you had a real vacation? Do you only eat your lunch at your desk? Do you take home work every night? Do you take calls at night even when you're not on call? And are your family, friends, coworkers worried about you and your stress level? Those are kind of things you should be paying attention to when you're self-monitoring. And therefore, you need to set some boundaries. Understand your role and its limits. Consider the number of hours you're working. I'm guilty of this. I send emails at all hours. I don't expect people to respond to them, but I am thinking about it. I'm writing emails, and often I'm responding at all hours as well. And the thing that I can personally tell you I am really bad at is learning to say no. But part of setting boundaries and taking good care of yourself is learning how to set boundaries, learning how to say no, and learning to think about a division between your work self and your outside of work self. And awareness is really not enough. Knowing that you're working too much is not what we need. We need you to start to build self-care strategies and evaluate, what is your coping style? Have you really ever thought about how do you cope? And do your solutions to their coping problem become your problem? So these are some examples for you to think about. Some people, when faced with a problem, are problem-solving, problem-focused coping people. So when that's something you can control and change, that's a good strategy. So you can think of a direct way to solve the problem. If having people working shifts that are not working for them because the hours are bad, we can change that and reduce stress by incorporating time for people to have off, generate alternatives, think about practical solutions. So those are good solutions when the problem is controllable and changeable. However, not all problems are controllable or changeable. And that's when we need to focus more on the emotion-focused coping, which is sort of either learning how to accept or avoid stressful situations. And cognitive behavioral therapy sort of teaches us about ways that we can restructure our thoughts or reframe things as a way of dealing with them. So instead of dealing where we can't change the problem, we could really think about how we react to it. We could talk about how we feel, what are the impacts of it, and then think about ways to either deal with those feelings or find ways to not have to be in situations that create those experiences for people. So I want to talk a little bit now about programmatic approaches to self-care. And so for those of you who are leaders in your program or managers, one of the things we can do is really give people days off so they can rest and recover and acknowledge that they've done a really good job and do that in front of other people. So we all have probably team meetings or group meetings at work. I think it's really useful instead of only listing problems, but to congratulate people on success. I think that doing that and thinking about how to make sure that everyone understands that you're acknowledging the person, whatever your situation is, that really makes a difference for people, just being acknowledged in front of their peers. As leaders, we should watch out, and also as coworkers, we should watch out for people who are showing signs and symptoms of burnout and intervene quickly. Consider structured programs that would help your team. So grief management or other types of staff support, weekly rounds so you can process and share ideas and frustrations around managing care, especially when cases are complicated. So there are all kinds of things we can do programmatically and I think are useful, because not only will they make people's job satisfaction improve, but they'll probably be better able to take on the workload. And so it benefits the program. So even if someone's taking a day off, if it leads to them feeling better about their work, they'll be more invested when they come back. It's really worth figuring out how to make that happen. And then there are some times that we need to think about this for ourselves. So what is self-care? So first of all, you want to be mindful. Mindfulness is, Mindfulness here is an important component. Thinking about what do you do right now and what do you want to continue? That's a self-care activity. Make a list. It's really good to have a list. And when you have things that are important for you to do, put them in your schedule, literally put them on your calendar. I have a friend who was going through a stressful time, been 8 years now, and we decided that once a month for 1 hour, we would do something together, even if it was sit quietly, so that, and we put it on our calendars. And for 8 years, I have a monthly hour with this friend, and the stressful thing is still there, but we do this. And it really is rejuvenating for both of us to know that is an untouchable time in our schedule. We just keep it there. And so I think you really sometimes have to literally put it on your calendar and make yourself work on that. And then start that from a position of strength and celebrating what you're already doing. So if you're already someone who goes to work out and exercising is one of the ways that helps you feel better, you're already doing it, but now put it on your calendar and make sure you're doing it regularly. I think one of the things that we're all really challenged by is developing self-empathy. You need to not feel selfish or guilty or needy when you're taking time for yourself. It's just fine and actually great. And you should allow yourself time to be as much, give that time to yourself as much as you can, and as much as you would do that for others. You need to develop that for yourself. And then you have to zealously protect your personal time with family and friends. When you're at work, you're working, and to the best of your ability, when you're at home, you need to be at home. And I'm saying this in one of those practice what you preach situations because it's hard for all of us. We're writing a grant that takes over your life. There are always going to be those times, but you then have to revert back to self-care. And I think one of the things that makes that hard, and we're going to talk about the model for that, is coming up with a way of maintaining that behavior. So Francesca and Di Clemente have a very nice model for stages of change. And I think we could all insert ourselves here into this and think about yourself within these stages. So the stages, there are 5. Pre-contemplation. I'm fine. I don't need to do any of the self-care stuff. I am doing great. There's no problem. I'm not stressed. That's probably not accurate, but that's the pre-contemplation. You're not ready for change. Next, we have contemplation. Yeah, I think I might be stressed. Everybody's stressed. It's normal to be stressed. I really don't need to do anything about it because everybody's feeling the same way. So you kind of think it's a problem maybe, but you're not ready to do anything about it. Then we get to preparation. I really need to do something about my stress. I feel it. It's affecting my sleep. It's affecting my relationships. I know I'm not dealing with it well. I need to do anything. That's our preparation phase. Then there's action. I have started my self-care routine. Here I am. Every week, I take an hour out of my week and I read, I exercise. Everyone has a different thing. I write in a journal. I joined a prayer group. Whatever that action is, that is action. But action is great, but maintenance is hard. And maintenance is sustaining that new behavior. I am something every day, and I've included that as part of my regular. I am walking every day, and I've included walking as part of my regular routine. That's maintenance. And so we really want to think about ourselves, and I'd like you all to take a moment to think about yourself, about where are you on this continuum, so that we know sort of as we're going to talk about things that you can do to help you with your stress, that you will sort of know where we need to start. So everybody's going to be in a different place. And keep in mind that on the right side there, you'll see that there's not one direction here, but 2. So when we're going in the green arrow down, that means we're moving in progress toward action and maintenance. But sometimes we relapse and regress some of our old habits. So I just recently finished writing a grant. And so now I'm trying to get back into my old schedule because for a period of time, everything was disrupted because of that. There could be times like for those of us who are in a medical school environment and July 1st means the new residents have arrived and our schedules get disrupted as we're doing more teaching, but we need to go back to our stage of action and maintenance as soon as that disruption moves forward. So I hope that sort of gives you a framework for where you're going to start now as we're going to talk about how you can pick some self-care activities. And these are things that people like to do. They like to exercise, they develop hobbies, just making time. Like I mentioned, I have this hour I spend a month with this friend. That was our self-care hour, and it's protected and never changes. Journal writing, meditation, mindfulness. These are just some of the examples. I'm sure you all can come up with other examples of things that you do that help you to, sorry, I'm just checking on my time so I know when I can start the next part. So when you know that you can do these things for self-care, and what works for one person is absolutely not going to work for everybody else. So I wanted to just give you some suggestions there. So one of the first things we're going to talk about next is learning some relaxation techniques. And the first thing we can do is learn to relax by breathing. And diaphragmatic breathing is a progressive muscle relaxation exercise. And relaxation works because you can't be relaxed and stressed at the same time. Those are mutually exclusive events. You cannot be stressed and relaxed. Just remember that. You have some control over your body, and we can take control of your breathing. And if you can relax a little bit, it will help to relax your mind. And one of the ways we do that is something we call breath work. And it's really a form of meditation that uses breath to calm your mind. And you tune into your breathing, and it taps into your parasympathetic system, which controls your body at rest. And you do this, you can calm every system. So I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to let Allison share.
Sorry, Vicki, I thought, 1 second.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes, that one. Perfect. All right. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to learn a little bit of breath work. So I'd like everybody to turn off their cameras. Allison, you can turn off yours too, as long as you're, okay. So everybody turn off your camera. And now I'm going to turn off mine too in a moment. But what I want you to all do is turn off your phone. Put it on buzz for just a few minutes, because we're going to need you to focus on yourself for just a moment here. So I want you to turn off the phone. I want you to sit comfortably wherever you are. If you're comfortable to close your eyes, it's fine to do that. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes, that's okay too. And we're just going to do a little bit of a breath exercise. And now I'm going to turn off my camera so I don't distract you. Okay, so I want you to listen carefully to my voice. And we're going to learn some breathing. Breathing exercises can be powerful building blocks for relaxation. We can do this anywhere and anytime. And it's the easiest body technique for relaxing because it's something you've been doing since the moment you were born. It's just breathing. So stop right now, and I want you to all take a truly relaxing breath. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Now I'd like you to inhale slightly more deeply and exhale with a little sound. Inhale again to full capacity and exhale completely, emptying your lungs. Okay, now at your own pace, I'd like you to continue to breathe in and out several times, allowing the breath to come in and out, in and out. And as you're breathing in and out, start to have your body feel a little bit more relaxed. Breathe in and relax your shoulders as you breathe out. Clear your mind and maybe sit a little bit back in your seat and take a breath in and out. Take a breath in and out. As your body feels more loose and this feeling of calm, you'll take your breath in and out, in and out. The next time when you feel tension mounting, you can take a deep breath in and out, and remember this feeling of calm. Just taking a breath in and out allows your body to relax as much as possible. When you take that breath in and out, you can feel relaxation in your body, and you keep breathing regularly in and out. And I'm going to give you just a few moments to continue doing a little more breathing to help yourselves feel relaxed before we move into the next activity. All right, so as you're sitting there comfortably, you can choose to keep your eyes closed, or if you're more comfortable, we're going to have some pretty pictures for you to look at. And you could open your eyes while we do our next activity of relaxation. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to a vacation spot. And I want you to be comfortable, because when you can feel truly relaxed and content and peaceful and calm, you'll be able to do this for yourself, taking a few minutes in your workplace to just take a breath in and out and perhaps do a little guided imagery. So right now, I want you to take another breath in and out and drift mentally to your favorite vacation spot. It could be one that you've been to before or a new one, even if something imaginary. And as you breathe in and out, I want you to picture yourself traveling to this place. Allow your breathing in and out to carry you to this favorite vacation spot. For some, this vacation spot could be a secluded forest cabin or a world floating in space. It could be a vacant island beach or a local park bench. It doesn't need to be exotic to relax. As you breathe in and out, I want you to picture this special place. As you breathe in, I want you to notice everything about this space and bringing into your mind everything associated with your favorite vacation spot. As you're picturing the spot and you're breathing in and out, I want you to step inside the vacation place in your mind and relax as you settle comfortably into this place. Taking another breath in and out. Imagine the view from this place. I want you to imagine what it smells like, if there are people around you, what the temperature is, and what you're wearing. And I want you especially to pay attention right now to how calm and clear you feel when you're in this favorite vacation spot. And take a deep breath in and out. While you're picturing the spot and how calm there you feel when you're there, I want you to know that there are no deadlines in your vacation spot. There are no responsibilities, no buzzers, no beepers, no pagers, no cell phones, no unwelcome intrusions. All that's there is whatever you want to be there in this calm place that you like to go. The most worrying thing might be whether or not you've put on some sunscreen, or maybe you're wondering why you don't come here more often. So again, I want you to breathe in deeply and picture this place that is a favorite place for you to go to feel calm and peaceful. And as you take another deep breath in and out, what you know is that you can actually be in this place anytime you want, because all you have to do is close your eyes and take a deep breath and picture it. And you can carry that with you wherever you go. You can hold on to this calm vacation spot and carry that with you during the stress of your workday, or possibly stress at home, stress at the grocery store. Wherever you feel stress, you can just take a few breaths and remember what this feeling is like. I'm going to give you a moment to take another few breaths in your special vacation place. And as you're breathing in and out, Remember at the end of a vacation when you feel more peaceful and refreshed. Well, as you breathe in and out and open your eyes, you can remember that feeling. You can awaken from that relaxing place and come back to the present, knowing that you have the power to always give yourself a time to be able to relax and take a breath and return to a space where you would feel calm. So as you're waking up from that relaxing place and you're ready to rejoin, why don't you just put your hand up virtually in your square so I can know where folks are. There's no need to rush. All right, I think I see a lot of hands. So I think, Allison, if you're ready, we can still look at the pictures because they're nice. Okay, there we are. Anyway, so oh wait, I can turn my camera back on now. There we go. So I hope that was refreshing for people. And I thought that was a little exercise that's easy to do anywhere at any time. But I saw there were comments in the chat, so maybe we could just have a little time to discuss now, if everyone is back with us.
That would be great. Yeah, that was awesome. There was a lot of comments in the chat that you point out, and I think one of the things, speaking to the exercise of sort of taking yourself someplace else, there was a lot of comments about how to find your safe self-care space when we're working from home, and people were giving each other advice. But curious if you had any additional comments about that.
I think that is a really excellent point, whoever made that point, because in fact, sometimes the boundary between work and non-work is totally gone when you're working from home because you can work all the time. So what I found that's helped me is actually having a place at home where I work and I don't work in the other rooms. So this, where I'm sitting right now at home, is the workspace. When I walk into the living room, that is not the workspace. And I actually will not take my laptop in there. This is the only place, and I try hard to maintain that, not look at my phone, not look at my emails on my phone when I'm not in my workspace, because that is really the only way to create that, is doing it yourself in a more intentional way. I don't know if other folks have done different things.
I think one of the things, I guess it's probably now maybe 10 years ago, where everything comes to your work device. And so your work device, now your email comes to your personal phone, it's all connected.
Mhm.
And so in addition to trying to separate your physical space, I think separating your virtual space is really important. So you can actually create settings on your Outlook that will not push emails to you 24/7. Because once we get that zing that an email is coming, we'll look at it. But you can actually say emails only come between this time and that time. And so you don't have the urge to look because it's there, right? So, creating making those virtual barriers for yourself. Other thoughts,
Yes.
or people, please.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what, please jump in now. You can turn on your cameras if you like.
Yeah, this is the part of amplifying. If there are things that you have found that have particularly been helpful in addressing burnout and stress, love to hear thoughts. Several were in the chat in terms of, again, separating space, virtual space, physical space. Other thoughts and ideas?
Vicki, I'm just so happy you said that because that's the response I put in the chat for that individual was the same thing that I found having to go remote, that I had to separate my space because I didn't realize I'm answering email at like 8:30 at night. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, what am I doing? It's Saturday. Like, so,
Exactly.
yeah.
And it's really hard. That's why those arrows go in both directions. I mean, and that's the part about being mindful of yourself and managing yourself and monitoring what you're doing, because it's very easy to slip right back to working 24 hours a day.
So, hi, it's Jean. So,
Hi, Jean.
I would put my camera on, but I'm a little under the weather because I did one of my favorite things this weekend for my stress relief is playing with my great nephew, who of course gave me the kitty crud, but worth every second. He just makes me so happy. I've found that as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at this. Taking time for myself and making time for myself and walking away from work, because you know what? Nobody's on their deathbed saying, God, I wish I could have worked more. You know, we get older and we think about what we want to do most in life, and that's be with the people we love. And so it's always important, I think, to make time to do that.
I definitely agree with that.
I think one point to bring up, and now that we're all working from home, and I'm a working mom, and for 2 years my kids were at home with me, and this whole idea of taking time for yourself makes you a bad parent or something like that. And I think you need to create those boundaries at home too. So like the bathroom is a space that people can't walk in because you need time for yourself and not being apologetic. I think there's not just your work and your home life, but even within your work life or within your home life, there are additional needs to create boundaries and self-care spaces. I wonder if you could speak a little bit about that.
No, I think that's true. I think that's where self-empathy comes in. I think that while many of us would applaud that in a friend or a coworker who said, I took this time off for myself and I went to the movies, pre-COVID, I went, whatever the activity is, you would think, wow, that's great. But if you did it, you would feel guilty about doing it. And I think that creating part of self-care is being generous with yourself about that you need that. And not that you just need it, it's essential and it needs to be part of your schedule. So creating that in your life. And I think some of what we talked about, most of everything we talked about today, doesn't only apply to folks taking care of patients living with HIV. I mean, I think there are some unique aspects of our work that makes it different than maybe other people working with other patients with chronic illness, because we try to support our patients when there's stigma or discrimination, and we have other things that we want to make sure that is okay for our patients or the folks in our programs that we work for. But everyone, whatever their occupation, still needs to take care of themselves to be the best that they can be at both their work life and in their relationships and in their home life as parents, as partners. So I think it's really, that's important. The picture of me at the baseball game. So when I was asked to send a picture of, we have our professional headshots, I was like, I don't want that one because that's not what I'm talking about. And I love baseball. And as Allison said, I also love the fact that it is a permissible place to just scream. So some days going to the baseball game has a bonus, which is that you can socially acceptably yell. So you can find other ways to sort of let that stress out. But I think it's really important that we carve that out for ourselves.
I think with gas prices the way they are now, I think a lot of times people equate self-care to going someplace, right? And to escaping someplace, playing a plane ticket or driving somewhere. And again, why it was so important for you to be able to find that space within yourself. I found that particularly helpful as a reminder to do that. I wonder if you can speak to, I know you spoke to leaders, or are there things as an institution that we can ask for that would promote self-care?
I think so. I mean, I think that at the University of Maryland, there's a wellness program, and at different times, and we can advocate for these sorts of things. These things have kind of fallen off a little because of the pandemic, and a lot of those activities involve groups. But like having an afternoon when everybody goes for a walk, or have some sort of thing where everybody can take an hour during the work week and do whatever it is that they like. Some people don't want to go for a walk, or in Baltimore, it's hot in the summer, and that would not necessarily be an ideal thing to do. But I think institutionally, we can advocate for creating opportunities for programmatic change. I think that there's certainly plenty of data that supports that taking care of yourself makes you a more effective worker. And so it would really be in the best interest of our programs and of the institutions to support those kinds of breaks, wellness breaks, doing group activities or solo activities, but just acknowledging that and trying to say that taking a day off for mental health is just, and you don't have to have bad mental health, like taking a day off to enjoy the day because you need that, and not because you're in a crisis, but because you don't want to be in a crisis. So I think advocating at the leadership levels for how we can incorporate that into our workspaces.
No, and I think also creating grace and space for people to be able to express that and it'd be okay.
Mhm.
If someone breaks their arm, I think we could say, oh yeah, you need to go. But when we have all looked at each other and ourselves and seen people sort of burning out, reach and not saying anything. I think say something, and creating the okayness to say, hey, I think you need a break, and not having to reach that critical point for them to take a break, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, getting yourself before you get to the critical point is the important, because it's much harder to recover when you really reach the point of exhaustion. So
Yeah.
paying attention to yourself and your coworkers, because a lot of us will look at each other and take care of each other again, but not ourselves. So it's helpful for someone else to say, you might want to just take an afternoon and just, give yourself time.
Yeah.
And I think the breathing exercise, I have found that if there's a meeting happening and I'm on Zoom, I'll turn off my camera and I will just breathe for a moment. I don't have time necessarily to go to the imaginary vacation place, but you can certainly do a few deep breaths to really calm yourself down, and give yourself that moment, and then turn the camera back on and rejoin the meeting. So it really, the breathing exercise can happen quite subtly and anywhere. And by practicing that, I think that it gives you the opportunity to then help others do that as well.
Right.
Practice those skills.
Right. I'm curious if people could put by show of hands, just maybe your little emoji hands, who has taken their full vacation in the last year?
Good job, Jean and Tayana.
So that was the other thing I've learned over the last several years is that, you know what, the world's not going to end if you take vacation time, and things get done. Even if I have to do a little bit of work on vacation, which I usually do, I try to limit it. But it's, we lose we lose the time if we don't use it, right, Allison? So I've learned to, even if it's taking, if I have days left over, I'll take Fridays off for a few months, like when spring comes. So yeah, that's because I used to, give away my vacation time back to the university. It's crazy, right? So yeah, I think it's just unfortunate I had to wait, 30 years to figure this out, but
Yeah.
I did finally figure it out.
So that's crazy though, Jane. You're only one of 2 people who raised their hand. And, I think we're oftentimes thinking if we're going to vacate, we have to be going some far away place, right? And Vicki already told us we could vacate sitting right here on the Zoom call,
Yeah.
but even just, sitting at home or just going somewhere locally and sitting in a park and just not coming in that day and not feeling, apologetic for that.
You're doing your gardening,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Or not, or
not.
Or couch potato time.
self-care. Sleep is self-care.
Sleep, binge watching, book reading, and there should be no judgment on what people are picking. I mean, because I think, again, what I find relaxing and what other people find relaxing, not everyone is a baseball fan. I really like baseball. So to me, going to the game, even when they lose more times than not, it's okay to me, but that might not be the thing for someone else. There's no judging that, at all. It should really be generated, by you, what's good for you. So.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
I have noticed, and not so much in my current role, but previously, especially in the height of the pandemic, that there tends to be a sandwich of middle management in terms of availability of self-care and accommodations for self-care that I think we make a lot of accommodations for the people that we're supervising, and people that are supervising us are able to make accommodations, but then it's the middle management that tends to get squeezed. And self-care doesn't come into play if there's a grant due or any, these other things. And of course, those are always the times that we need self-care. And I'm wondering if you can speak to that at all, or if that's anything that you've noticed or heard much about before.
Well, I think that the problem with the way our systems are set up is that oftentimes it is the people in that layer where the most of that stress falls, because you have people above and people below. You're supervising people, you're managed by someone else, and like you're saying, you kind of get squeezed. I think that learning how to become an advocate for yourself and aligning with someone in a upper management who also values this would be the strategic way to do it. I think that the idea that self-care would improve workplace productivity, and there's lots of ways in which we could support that data, real data that will say to you that you really do need to put this into the programming of how we look at everyone. But I think finding a person at a senior level who will advocate for that to make sure that all people get the same opportunities are really important.
Thankfully, I think I'm in a better space with that one now than I was previously, but it's something that I've seen kind of across the board, that not just for me, but for other sort of like mid-level managers, that there's space for others, but it's like it stops at a certain level, and it's like, but wait.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
I appreciate that.
Hi, this is Robin. I want to respond to that. I think, Caitlin, in our office, what we have to do is find a support person. It may not be in management or something like that, but if you can find a support person that can help you alleviate some of that pressure, that would be very helpful for that sandwich person, as you would call it, because again, each and every one of us come across that at some point in our roles. And so we have to be able to, with each other, identify how we can support and relieve that for one another. It may not be available for everyone all the time, but if we can just somehow try to identify some person that can help us with that, because we know grant writing is stressful. It takes a lot of time. It does all of that, and I've watched it. And so what I've tried to do is relieve that person of some of that stress by being available to do some other things. And sometimes that often helps them be able to get that grant done and not be as stressful and have some downtime for themselves in the process.
That makes
If that
sense.
makes any
I
sense.
appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good point.
Yeah, I think the idea of teamwork in that way, and that,
Yes.
we all kind of look out for each other, because the ultimate goal is for us all to be well and to do well with everyone, to be there for each other in that way. So, hey, Sarah.
Hi, I was turning my camera on because Robin was talking about me. She is a huge supporter of me.
Yeah, I didn't want to name you, but
And
yeah.
July are really hard months for people in that middle management.
Right,
We're trying
right.
to get our fiscal year ended, our new fiscal year started, and grants written. And yes, believe me when I say Robin is just my go-to, and I don't even have to ask her. She says, Sarah, what can I do right now? Because I'm in my office going, I don't know, help. And she hears me and just says, what can I do? And in any environment, that is huge, to be able to have a work environment where somebody reaches out to you and says, can I help you? What's going on? You seem really stressed. And then to really have that teamwork. And that is, I think, so huge, to be able to have a team that works together, and to really try to cultivate where taking time off is taking time off, and it doesn't matter. That is one thing that I am a big proponent of is, okay, so-and-so's off, and you say, I'm off, who can cover? And you've got 3 offers before the fourth person can say, oh, I didn't get a chance, but I can do it too. Like, that environment is huge to me. So thank you, Robin.
Yeah, well, I think, and Sarah, as you know, and all those that known me over the years, it's real important that we do work as a team, and it's important that we support each other in being able to take care of ourselves. And I think Jean said it best earlier, as you age, you learn it more and more. Coming into this field 30 some years ago, I was so gung-ho. I mean, I was talking to everybody Monday through Sunday, call me anytime, do this and that. And you burn out really, really, really fast. But over the years, you learn how to be able to separate your personal life from work life, even though some days, as I put it in the chat, you relapse on it. A client has a crisis, you're right there. You're going to fix it. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. But then you come back to say, okay, I have to take care of myself. I'm getting older. I'm not getting any younger. I'm getting older, but I know that I still want to do this work and I want to help and support my clients. But I also know that I have to take care of myself in order to be able to do that. And that means mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I have to be able to hone into all of those to continue to be an effective person in the work that I do. So that's important to me. So thank you, Vicki, for this today, because it brings me right back to that of taking care of myself and continue to be an effective person doing the work that I do after all these years. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Robin, too, because we go back a long way.
Yes. We do. We do.
And I have to apologize, but I have a 1 o'clock. So
I know.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
there you are. There. Hi, Joe.
No,
I
I see
see people now. Unfortunately, I have another.
worries. I was going to jump in and say, Vicki, thank you for a wonderful talk. I think with actionable steps for people to take, I think, see something, say something, and what to do, and for yourself as well as for each other. Really love the energy in the virtual room.
Yes.
With that, we'll close. Remember to
Thank you,
practice
everyone. It was
and
good
don't
to see you
relapse.
all.
Thank you.
We'll see
Thank
you
you,
next
Allison.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. All right.
Exactly.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye-bye.